Well, good evening. Not many people watching, but welcome to Wingard's World. This is a series of interviews with interesting people that I've seen on the internet or in real life. And the first person on this auspicious occasion is Mr. David Sherb, who is a volunteer counsellor, a teacher, and a practitioner of magic. And I would like to bring him on now, and we will chat about all things metaphysical, spiritual, and perhaps whatever. I mean, technical. I can't even speak, David. Technical difficulties. My mouse was sticking, which completely ruined the introduction. But welcome, David.
Well, nice to have you on. Not a problem.
Thank you very much for agreeing to come on and have a talk. I first saw you on Fiona Edgar's astrology podcast, and I found you very interesting. And some of the stuff you kind of said blew my mind. We'll get onto the railway spikes later on, because that I don't know. I don't know why. It's just an amazing kind of thing for me, that. But
absolutely.
I'm not going to ask for your life story and you know what you did when you was 9 from age to age, whatever. But could you give us a brief potted history of your journey, your kind of spiritual journey over the years, if that's possible?
Sure. My mother and grandmother were Scottish and German, and they practiced the old ways, the old faith. In their household, the Bible was basically the center of the household. They kept all their pictures in there, all their documents, everything else in there. And they practiced a combination of the old faith and folk magic. They were very in tune with the elements of nature, very in tune with God. And understanding it wasn't a Christian practice, it was folk magic. It's the old ways. They were immigrants. They came over from Scotland, migrated to Kentucky, Tennessee, and through there, lived in the Appalachian Mountains, and they brought the old ways with them.
Right.
So tremendous respect for God, tremendous respect for nature, and everything that they used, every single item that they used in the practice would be found in their garden, could be found in the woods.
Scotland is a really interesting place spiritually, because it's kind of the home of Freemasonry. It's Scottish Rites Freemasonry was founded.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
When you talk about the old ways, what was the kind of, would they pray to nature or any specific?
Well, I mean, they believed that there was a God, an all God. But,
yes,
as I've gotten older, I believe that there is a God, but then there's other gods that are linked to that. I've kind of moved on as I've gotten older. But the idea is to be in tune with nature, in tune with the seasons, in tune with harmony of natural law. That's another thing too, very in tune with the 7 natural laws. They're also known as the Hermetic laws. They're the laws that guide the universe. They're the laws that none of us can escape.
We've spoke about this, and I think we'll try and touch on it later. It's it's a conversation all in itself, Hermeticism, and it's a really interesting thing.
Cosmic law, Hermetic law, natural law are all the same. They're the 7 natural laws. And touching on the fact when you talked about the Scottish Freemasonic lodges, my uncles, my father, all of them were Scottish Rite Masons.
Yeah.
My mother was Eastern Star, so they were of the Masonic lineage. But the thing is, too, when you came over to America, a lot of times the only way you could get a job was to be connected to the lodge.
Really?
Because that's how you built community. So there was a lot of influence in the Scottish Rite. And I have tremendous respect for it, because it did a lot for those who immigrated here. It was the ability to build community, cohesion. And, a lot of them worked in the automotive industry. They worked as policemen. They were a very cohesive community.
Basically,
so it was actually necessary for survival when you came here.
I think America was built on Freemasonry.
Yes, it was. Yes.
perhaps England was as well. One thing I know about Scottish Rites Freemasonry is that in the degrees going through, there's the they're very rough on the initiates, and it's only in Scotland that there's certain things they have to act out, and in England it's watered down, but in Scotland they really kind of go for it, kind of thing.
My godfather was 32nd degree Scottish Rite. And this is, this is my baby spoon.
Yeah, Eastern Star.
Eastern Star. So, yeah. It's in the lineage. And I understand that, how can I put it? A lot of the truthers get carried away how they talk about it. And they're not Satanists. They're not, it's just so ridiculous the way it's dialogue. Because people don't know. They just pick up a little bit of information on the internet and then they run with it,
Yeah.
It's the idea that you give a little bit of information to a stupid person and then things get dumber very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, again, it was for survival. This is how they got jobs. This is how they worked together. It was communal.
Yeah. So you was raised by, like, as you term, the old ways, and
yes,
that kind of molded your spiritual thinking from an early age.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
And have you explored different avenues of spirituality?
Yes, when I was my father died when I was young. I was only 17 when he died, and I branched off. I became who my mother had to depend on to survive. The one who had to pay the bills, and I had to grow up very quickly. But I went through a gauntlet. At 20. I got involved with the Church of Satan for 2 years.
Right. Okay.
And to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I thought they were the idea of giving the devil his due. And they was basically very atheistic. They believed in Ayn Rand, they believed in Nietzsche, but they did not have a spiritual context to it.
No.
And it was very cosmetic. I didn't like it.
If you don't mind me saying, is that the Anton LaVey thing, Church?
That was Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey, if Anton LaVey was alive today and he saw what was going on with the Church of Satan, now he'd be rolling over in his grave. Yeah. It's become very politically correct. And in America, there's another branch which is not connected to the Church of Satan, which is the Temple of Satan, and is hyper politically correct. It doesn't have a baseline connect to the original idea. Satanism was based on the Promethean mindset, the Nietzschean mindset, building your will, building yourself.
Right.
And then at 22, I got involved in a Luciferian organization that I was with till I was 2012.
Right.
And that got hyper politically correct. And it was no longer about the mission of empowering oneself and getting to one's highest being. It was more of let's just have everybody come and let's be all inclusive. Well, when anything is all inclusive, it diminishes the cohesion of the group because now everybody can come.
Yeah. I went to the church. Well, when I was doing that film in America, as I mentioned to you, we had downtime. It was filmed in Salem, and we went to the Temple of Satan. And it was closed. It was just a grey building with LGBT flags hanging outside of it, kind of thing. And it was just like, it wasn't particularly impressive. But so the Church of Satan, if we can touch on that, is it not how people would envisage like of cloaks and orgies and all that? Is it more like of a staid kind of? Is it like just basically a church, but like from a satanic point of view?
LaVey had the idea that Crowley had, where it was no publicity was bad publicity. He basically went with the flow. He went with the idea, if you want to give me bad publicity, at least I'm in the limelight and in the eye of the public. And understand, there was a deep intellectual base to it too. Nietzschean beliefs are very intellectual. I have a copy of Thus Spoken Zarathustra that I've had for 40 years. Yeah. And it's basically attaining the highest version of yourself. But again, it got very cosmetic. And then when I got into Luciferianism, which I'm not going to name the group I was with because the group is now gone, and I don't need the Googling the headaches from it. I just don't. But the idea was Lucifer was a misprint in the Bible. It was a translation. Lucifer and Satan, we know, are two different beings. And let me make it clear, I'm not advocating for Satanism. I'm not advocating for Luciferianism. I'm not advocating for any of that.
Yeah.
I'm not. But nor am I, walking away from my history. But the idea of Luciferianism was the Promethean mindset. How can I be the highest version of my being?
Right, okay.
And then linking it to your purpose. So if you're a really good auto mechanic and you love working on cars, how can you be the best auto mechanic you can be? How can you build your business? How can you expand yourself into the world?
Yeah.
It's very disciplined too. That's another thing too with modern occultism, modern Satanism. It's become very undisciplined.
Yeah.
Very undisciplined.
And it also goes against the when they're talking about genderless, that kind of goes out the polarities of the
Anton LaVey and also in Luciferian practice, they have a very strong understanding of natural law. A very strong understanding of natural law. The law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of vibration, the law of cause and effect. I mean, there's a level of morality of understanding that these laws, no one escapes them. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, pagan, heathen. And then, this nihilistic mindset, well, all is permissible. Well, that's horseshit. It's childish. It's like, I'm not coming against people who practice chaos magic, but this idea is, okay, well, we've had chaos for the last 4 years. How's that working out for you? Everything's permissible. How is that working out right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also very, very freedom based. What I mean by freedom, it has a libertarian mindset. You do not violate other people's rights, but you have the right to be who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. From speaking to you and watching your videos on Instagram, I find you very stoic, and you have like a stoic way about. Have you studied stoicism, and what, if so, what age did you get into stoicism?
Well, let me connect it to the way my structure is right now. Since 2012, my practice is basically just I've gone back to the older ways of when I grew up. So it's basically very folk magic working and understanding of natural law. Stoicism, which is the most important thing in magic or in faith or in any practice of magic, is the ability to center yourself.
Yeah.
It's the valuing of your time. In other words, like right now, the time you've given to me today from you, that's sacred, and I appreciate your time, and I'm grateful for it. Your time is your gift. And then Stoicism helps you to remove the distractions. Like, I don't care about politics. Politics, and I spend no time. I don't care about politics. I don't care about sports. I don't care about the noise of the world.
Yeah.
I care about, my circle of people and then who I can help around me.
Yeah.
So Stoicism is the centering. I've said before that when it comes to people who practice magic, a lot more people need a therapist than they need magic.
Yeah.
And I mean that sincerely. I don't mean that to put them down. But, that's the idea. If the mind cannot be centered, then you cannot center your purpose.
No. I mean, a lot of the new age people I've encountered, to reiterate what you've just said, a lot of them were really damaged, screwed up people, and a lot of them. There was a lot of them like saying they was proficient in a certain thing, like Reiki, or they was holding Kambo circles or ayahuasca circles, and some of these people weren't. They weren't fit to do things like that. Because energetically, it's quite a responsibility to get involved in things like ayahuasca and mushrooms and things.
Absolutely. And there's also the fact that there is both in the New Age community and in the occult and magic community, there's an enormous amount of fraud going on right now.
Absolutely.
Like, I believe in the practice of what I've done is very simply, you make a choice in the morning. Do you want to help heal the world, or do you want to manipulate and steal from the world? It's just a simple choice. I'm not here to save the world, nor can anybody do that because that's delusional, but I want to help those who I can help.
Yeah.
Now, what happens with Stoicism in doing that work, it removes the ability to be offended. Like if somebody gets into a dialogue with me on social media and starts, I just block them. I don't debate. I don't bother putting my energy into it.
Yeah.
You know, because people, when you get offended easily, then you're going into the realm of being a victim, and you will stay a victim as long as you are offended easily.
Yep. It's so I have read Stoicism. I wouldn't say I'm a student of it. I've gone through meditations, and I watch a lot of the videos and stuff, and it's such a noble, practical, philosophy, for want of a better word. But you know what? Sometimes I do struggle with like not letting stuff get to me or people. You know,
Right.
did that take a lot of training for you to get to that state, or have you always been a natural?
No, it's a daily discipline. That's the thing is too, like we have a tendency that we want to have an end to everything. Well, Stoicism, Magick, faith, there is no there. It's a daily practice. You know, if you're doing this practice, you will never be there. I mean, I counsel people in their 20s that I learned from. I counsel people in their 40s, 50s. I learn from people also. What I cannot stand when it comes to magic and the practice, I hate pretentiousness. You know, I hate it when people put on airs. You know, here I am, let me sit in front of my walls of books, and here's all my goat heads in the background and all this other stuff. It's the idea of the greater the decoration around them, the less abilities they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's all show and no go.
So magic is really something. It's not as it's not as complicated and esoteric as people would have you believe. It's quite. A lot of people are keeping themselves in in money and in a way of living.
Well, I've dialogued in my videos. I've got over the last 40 years, I got enough books in this house. I've said before, if one of the shelves fell on me, they'd kill me.
Yeah.
But so what? Because what you want, knowledge and data are just that. They're knowledge and data. Okay, so you're reciting knowledge, you're reciting data. Wisdom is something different. Wisdom is the ability to take knowledge and use it effectively. Like of all the books I have, I maybe use a handful of them. But, you know, a lot of it out there in terms of the magic community, the spiritual community, the new age community, is there's just recycling data over and over. And I've said before, most magic books are designed just to sell more magic books.
Yeah.
Or you have a lot of these cretins in the new age movement, you know, novice. They're just building sex cults.
Yeah.
When the leader of the group becomes more important than the group, then you have a cult, and then you have a problem.
Yeah.
You want to move with cohesion together.
Yeah.
And there's just too much, like, I can't, you know, this guru, or the other terms I cannot stomach. I hate the term life coach.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, or, you know, it's the idea like most life coaches are broke, just like most people who practice magic are broke. Why? For what reason? Because the wrong intent behind it.
Do you know something, David? Not far away from that, a buzzword and a thing. There's a lot of self-appointed mental health ambassadors.
Yes.
The internet is awash with, and TikTok and YouTube is awash with mental health ambassadors. And a lot of these are narcissistic men looking for vulnerable women. It's the cult leader thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? Jim Jones or whatever. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? You know, it's just. But you not find now as well. everyone's got an excuse for the behaviour. Like it's my ADHD, it's my autism, it's my Asperger's, it's my clinical depression, it's my anxiety.
Right.
Everyone has kind of a pass these days for the accountability is going out the window to a certain extent.
Well, I mean, I've been very open with my own issues. I have PTSD, I have bipolar disease, and I have dissociative disorder. My parents both have bipolar disease.
Yeah.
So it's a genetic thing. And it's the idea, and when people, they practice faith or magic, they think it's going to be cured. No, it gives you the ability to work with it.
Yeah.
And I also believe that if medication is necessary, take medication, get the right treatment.
Yeah.
It's extremely irresponsible to deal with somebody who has mental illness and say, well, I'm going to pray for you or do a spell over you and it's going to go away. That's extremely dangerous and irresponsible. Some people need actual medication and help.
Yeah.
Science, magic, faith, they all work together. When I talk about science, I'm not talking about, I won't go into details. I won't talk about the crap of the last 3 years, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm talking actual science, not, we don't need to get into that, you know what I mean?
No.
And by the way, excuse the humming, my furnace kicked on.
It's fine. No
I
problem.
hope it's not interfering with the mic.
No problem.
But there's a level of responsibility that comes with teaching and mentoring too. And a lot of that is dismissed. Again, when a person makes themselves the center of anything, that's dangerous.
Yeah. At what age did you get into counselling? Was that later in life? And
honestly, I worked for 20 years as for the Department of Transportation. I was an accident investigator and accident response. And at 40, I started having some health issues. I had micro seizures and I got diagnosed with PTSD.
Yeah.
So they retired me early. Then I spent about 4 years, actually 5 years in an abyss, literally. And a combination of having some health issues and also leaving the Luciferian organization I belonged to, I had to find something to do.
Yeah.
I found that having the issues that I do and being able to help others, I started doing volunteer counseling work. Everything I do is free. I mean, I have people that send me donations or they send me gifts or something, which is fine, but I do it for free.
Yeah.
And because I believe in the work.
Yeah.
When people lead with money, here's my next course, here's my next thing. They're just trying to get money out of you. And there's nothing wrong with making a living, but it's the abuse of that that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But would you say if you had to name 5 things for mental health, would purpose rank high on the mental health scale?
You mean 5 things you can do?
Yeah, or 5 things to help you. Would purpose, if you could rate them, would purpose be quite high up on the mental health?
Purpose is first.
Yeah.
Finding your purpose. And that's another thing too, when people talk about magic, your true will, your purpose, it's not that complex. You've talked about what you do. You like comedy, you like being an actor.
Performing, yeah.
Well,
performing.
You're performing. That brings you joy. That connects your heart and mind together. That's your purpose. And then when you walk into your purpose, things begin to come into your life. Yes, you're going to have things you're going to run into. You're going to run into barriers and obstacles, and there's going to be issues, but the purpose keeps you centered. It gives you the ability, I tell people, I said, if you love being a mom and you love raising your kids and taking care of your home, that's your purpose. That's your true will. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Once you find your purpose, then you link things to it. Then you begin to focus on valuing your time. Who gets it, what gets it, and who doesn't. And when people are losing friendships over crap like politics or religion, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. I mean, I talk to people of all beliefs and political views too. I personally don't talk politics because I find it annoying. I find it corrosive.
It's futile as well, isn't it? Because if you look into it really deeply, It's just theatre, and
It's just that exactly. It's theater.
you know, and what over here we have the Labour and the Conservatives are the slang word for the Conservatives is the Tories. And when I go on Facebook and write stuff, because the Tories, the Conservatives are currently in power, and when I see somebody write on Facebook like "fuck the Tories," I just think you've not got a clear understanding of what it's all about. It's just that's what it's designed. It's design and divide and conquer and stuff like that.
It's divide. It's part of distraction. You know, and it's the identifying the profane. When I talk about the profane, people think, you know, when I use the word evil, it's like, okay, when I talk about the profane, it's anything that divides, distracts, and destroys.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the profane, it would be anything that violates innocence or violates your rights. And the profane always wants to divide, distract, and continually destroy. So they want, you know, you're on the right, you're on the left, you're this, you're that. It keeps you in a state of consistently. It's the idea that you keep moving, but you're going nowhere. And then you give emotional energy to this rubbish, and it's just draining you. It's just draining. And so when I talk about the profane, I have to make this clear to people too. I don't worry about a person being a Satanist or into death metal or into the dark. I don't care about none of that. That's all a choice. That's all an aesthetic. That's all art. I have zero issues with that. To me, that's not evil. Evil to me is the profane, the deliberate action to divide and destroy and harm others. That's profane. And again, the violation of innocence. There is nobody escapes that. You violate innocence, nobody escapes natural law. It will come.
I was just going to say that as well. Would you describe the profane as going against natural law?
Anything that goes against natural law.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's what I mean. It's very simple. I go back to the base. It is the violation of others' rights, you know, and harming the innocent.
Yeah.
If you like harming innocent, you know, torturing animals and stripping people of their rights, well, you're profane.
Yeah.
Because you've made a willing choice. See, that's beyond evil. The profane is beyond evil.
Yeah. Would you say as beings, as humans, we all have it in us, the darkness, and it's up to us to kind of, like I said, make the choice to that Indian kind of proverb about the black wolf and the white wolf. Whichever wolf you feed most inside you wins. And then you think it's up to us as people to just always make the right choices. But the point being, do you think we all have that potential to be bad inside us?
Well, I mean, we all have a shadow in us. I mean, Gustav Jung talked about it, you know, the dark side of us. But the shadow is not evil. The shadow is a part of our being.
Yeah.
You know, we have the higher version of ourselves, and then we have the beast within ourselves. You know, the protector. It's the balance of the two. So if you do not know your shadow, do not know your flaws, do not know the darkness in you, then it will eventually consume you. That's why you see like a lot of people that are into death metal, well, they're expressing their shadow side. They're not nearly as dysfunctional as some people that are involved in the church because they've suppressed it.
Have you done much shadow work? And what? I'm honest, this is a brief. Excuse me, my style of interviewing. Sometimes it goes off on tangents. So
That's fine. Not an issue.
Do you know that the shadow work? And briefly, it might be a long, expansive subject. How does basically somebody do the shadow work and get in touch with connect with the shadow? Briefly, if possible, it is brief.
Well, the shadow is the primal part of you. The shadow is the very base primal part of you. It is the anger in you. It is the rage. It is a dark form of creativity. You know, it needs to be expressed, but it also needs to be controlled. And it's balanced with the highest version of you, which is, you know, the light. It's the balancing of the two. When the shadow is ignored, the shadow will lash out, and it will lash out passive aggressively, So when you're not assimilating it, you're asking for, you're asking for a problem. So it's the idea of, it's kind of like, I don't know, let's put it this way. Let's say that you're in a death metal band, and you play that hard, heavy, dark music. But then you go home and you're the father and you take care of your wife and kids. There's the balance.
Yeah.
You're getting the dark energy out, and then you have the balance of the light energy. You're a balanced person.
And then the other hand, if you're in a black metal band and you go setting fire to churches, they've not balanced that particular. That isn't the balance, is it? But I get what you're saying about,
Well, I mean, the idea too. I mean, the idea of burning churches. That's other people's property. Don't violate other people's property. If they're not, the thing about Magick is, unless somebody comes directly in your circle, you got to watch what you're lashing out at, because reality is a hologram. It's a mirror. What you put out comes back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that the church does that I can't stand, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go burn a church down.
No, it's that was just an example of that. Something.
But there was a lot of that going on. It's funny too, because in years ago when I was in the Church of Satan, one of the things that Anton LaVey was totally against was the destruction of other people's property. And then there's that other stuff where they talk about, killing babies and torturing animals. Well, first of all, he also said, do not harm innocents and do not torture animals. It's in there in black and white.
Is the degrees of Satanism, though? There's the darker chapters of Satanism who do engage in sacrifice and stuff.
I'm sure there is. I know there is. Just like there's degrees in other practices.
Yeah.
You've got there's darkness and extremes in everything.
Yeah.
In everything. Every group has a branch that's really out of their minds. It's psychotic. Yeah. Well, again, when you get up in the morning with where you're deliberately going to harm and destroy, well, you're a psychopath. You're a psychopath. It has nothing to do with your belief. You're choosing to be a psychopath.
Yeah. It's interesting that I've never really thought of it in that respect. Because we're traditionally taught Satanists are bad people, and the murder and sacrifice and things like that. But that's very interesting. That's my own kind of ignorant view on it. But yeah, I never even thought there's varying degrees, like you just said, in everything. There's dark sects of Christianity.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at what Christianity. Look what the Catholic Church did in Ireland.
Yeah,
it was profane.
Yeah,
it starved the people and abused the children. It was absolutely profane. What they did was it was no different than any other dark occult group. And I'm not bashing Catholicism. That's not what I'm doing.
No.
But, look what the church did in Ireland. That was profane. We have it going on here in this country. We have these mega churches that are robbing widows blind while their pastors are flying around in airplanes. They're corrupt. They're profane.
Yeah.
That's an extreme on both ends because it's the intent. Both are greedy, both are vicious, both are violent.
Yeah.
And they're manipulating. So it's all a matter of intent, whatever banner they want to stand under,
It's interesting. So have you practiced magic for most of your life?
Since I was 20. I grew up with, folk practice, but where I actually got involved in the practice since I was 20. So it's been 40 years. I turned 60 this year.
You don't look it. You look younger than that, if you don't mind saying.
Well, at least one of us believe that.
No, I do. But basically, would you say that magic is an advanced form of manifestation? Or
magic is connecting to your true will. And when you connect to your true will, the things in your life begin to happen. They begin to move. Again, you will have dark times, but you will begin to see the things. You will be able to see the omens, the signs in your life. You'll be able to read people and you're able to see people's intent. It gives you greater clarity. And it's a way of focusing your energy. So anytime you do whether you're doing a prayer or whether you're doing a ritual, whatever you're doing, you're focusing energy. But part of it, when it comes to magic, where people make the biggest mistake, whether they're doing a prayer, a ritual, whatever they're doing, is the letting go. Once you've enacted what you want, you have to let it go.
Yeah.
And is your intention connected to your true will? So if you were to say that I want as a comedian, as an actor, if you would say, I would want to reach more people with my intention to help them, and then I prosper also, well, you're setting a powerful intention because it's benefiting you and those around you.
Yeah.
So, but it's the idea, and the thing that's dangerous, which is so ridiculous. Believe me, been there, done that. So I'm talking from having been there. Getting into the Goetia, getting into demonic magic, dealing with entities, all this stuff is highly dangerous because those beings and creatures operate under natural law also. So if you make a deal with I'm being metaphoric, if you make a deal with the devil, well, he gets to collect or she gets to collect.
Yeah.
There's that old Scottish Southern saying, don't be summons in the devil and expect him to behave.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get what you want, but then there's going to be collection for it. So the one thing about black magic is it works instantly, quickly, but you are going to pay in the end.
There's a thing in there about Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. They reckon he was an occultist, and there's the myth into that Led Zeppelin signed the souls to the devil. Apart from John Paul Jones, the bass player, and they had obviously phenomenal success and fortune. And towards the end of the career, like, I think Robert Plant's wife and child died. Jimmy Page, ended up an alcoholic, and the drummer John Bonham died. And so there was that myth that they'd kind of sold the soul, but like obviously, like you said, it comes to collect.
It comes to collect. That's all. I'm never judging that. I'm just saying it. I mean, I've been on the other side of that, and I paid dearly, and then learned from it and moved forward. See, the idea is some people never learn from it. So, did you learn your lesson? Did you move forward? And it's not this. It's not operating out of fear. It's basically taking the hard look at yourself and going, this isn't working anymore. I need to change my ways.
Yeah.
So like if anybody, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm out of practice interviewing David, so I apologize. Please carry on.
Well, it's the idea of, again, what you put out is going to come back to you. Yeah. So when you're dealing with erratic, chaotic, demonic entities, by their nature, they can come back and destroy you because it is their nature.
I know.
Their nature.
I'm sorry, I did it again. Please forgive me.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
I know an individual. I don't even want to. I'm not going to name the individual. They have cursed a lot of people, and a lot of people under this curse have either ended up with ended up either dead or very unwell, but the person still seems to be kind of okay. Is there sometimes, is it a case of sometimes karma has no deadline, and it's just a case of when?
You put it better than I could have. Cause and effect, which karma and cause and effect are the same thing. Karma has no deadline. Then you're right. There's no straight way of putting it. Karma has no deadline. So cursing, Thomas Sheridan talked about this, and he has a couple videos on it. He was very clear about it. And he hit the nail on the head with this because it's true. Unless somebody deliberately comes right into your circle to do you harm, like I mean, literally into your life to do you harm, do not curse them. Because if they're cursing you and you've done nothing to them, the curse will just come back to them. So you have a lot of these angry practitioners that are vindictive. I'm not calling out all of them, but you got some people in the Wiccan community and in the Magick community that are vindictive and they have vendettas and they curse other people just because they're angry at them. They're angry at their boyfriend, they're angry at their ex-wife, and they curse them. You are putting out something that's going to come back and destroy you because you're violating their rights. You're violating their will. Again, unless it directly comes at you. Now, if they come at you directly, well, yes, you can reverse the curse. Absolutely.
People don't realize late in life, and you'll have understood this a lot sooner in life than me, the power of words. We don't realize, people you don't realize when you're saying to people, I'll tell you something now, and I'm very ashamed of this. I was real towards the end of my mum's life. I really got sick of her, and I was living in close proximity with her. And I remember saying, I'm quite ashamed to say this, but I'm all about honesty. I said to somebody, I wish she was dead. And 3 weeks later, my mum died. And obviously, when she did, I was heartbroken. But you don't realize sometimes in these loose moments when you're not thinking that the power of what you're saying, you don't, do you?
The idea is don't condemn yourself. You learn from it, and to move on.
Yeah.
Is to move on. You've learned a lot. The fact that you feel any remorse shows that you learned from it.
Yeah.
And you said, I don't want to do this again. That begins to eliminate that dark karma, the awareness and the admitting of it. It's the perpetuation when people hold on to their rage and to their anger and curse others. That's when things begin to corrode them, destroy.
Yeah.
Because hatred and holding grudges, in the end, it just destroys you.
What's alarming now is, especially with the new age and a lot of younger people, they have more access to learn about cursing people, and they just see this as kind of a boomerang that doesn't come back. You know what I mean? They just it's shocking that you could even kind of just think about cursing someone.
I agree. Well, the idea is to hold on. I have to. There we go. Okay. I had to connect my charger.
No problem.
Cursing people again in the way you curse yourself too. Again, what you put out there comes back to you. But there's another thing too when it comes about the New Age movement. Also, is they're selling false hope. It's you talk about wanting to manifest things. You want to create things in your life. Well, you have to be in line with it before it will come to you. You have to set the stage for it. There's a lot of people that say they're doing irresponsible things, like on the internet, they're doing telepathic magic. They say, well, I'm teaching people, I'm not educating. No, you're teaching them some very evil things. You're teaching them tools that can destroy them. And it's the same thing with the New Age movement. It's like, a lot of people go to these retreats and then wind up getting raped or abused.
You know what? I went on an ayahuasca retreat, and I'd been sold it as the God drug, and you take this drug, and you basically meet some spirit. And I was lost in life. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say I'm found now. I'm still, like you said, a work in progress. And
we all are.
I had this really bad experience on ayahuasca, and it was just horrific. Really, it was effectively a bad trip.
Yeah.
And it came to light that the shaman's apprentice had been touching women up while they was off their heads on, but it reminds me of a line out of the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where Hunter S. Thompson spoke about the 60s breeding a generation of failed seekers who thought they could buy enlightenment for $2.50 a hit with acid. You know, there's no ayahuasca kind of thing. It's people trying to fast track you getting over trauma or finding the way in life, but there is no. My friend told me, I don't want to hog the stage off you. I just when I feel that I have to blurt these things out. But before I went to the retreat, my friend said to me, you know, all the answers that you need are within you.
Yes, they are.
I never forgot that, David. You know, that everything I need is within. You can't, but it's not external. You can't buy it, or, you know.
It's the idea of all the answers are within you. And there's times, here's where things will come to you. That's why I talk about clearing the mind. How many times have you gone for a walk or been exercising or doing something where your mind is just flowing and then the things come to you? Yeah. Because the mind is open to it. It doesn't have all the clutter and all the static. You know, that's the thing that prevents us from attaining this level of consciousness, is the idea of our mind is too cluttered. You know, it's the idea. So there's a lot of people going around, you know, shut up, God, I'm praying. They're the ones that need to shut up. Yeah. Or they're talking to their entities or deities, but they won't shut up to listen. They won't listen.
Isn't there a thing about when the mind becomes silent, God begins to speak?
When the mind becomes silent, yes, it begins to speak. You know,
a lot of people are kind of scared of that, though, aren't they? They facing themselves, and that's why people scroll on the phones all day or busy themselves doing things, because sometimes, for example, if you lie in bed and you can't sleep over night time, it's dark, and you're confronted with yourself and all your issues, and that is quite a scary kind of thing in a way, you know. But a lot of us now just scroll through Facebook or just do anything to distract your mind from, you know, facing these things.
Well, we're terrified of silence because, again, what you just said, silence makes us look at our own self.
Yeah.
And this is conditioning too. So it's not like, you know, I don't do this thing because you see people do it too. These, you know, whatever they want to call themselves, gurus, teachers, whatever, but they act like they're above the people that they're working with. It's like, no. It's when I talk about counseling and working with people, I don't cure or heal anybody. I don't do that. All I do is sit in the dark room with them until the time comes where they're ready to walk out with me. And that can take years. A lot of people have got a lot of trauma inside of them, but distracting yourself from your pain won't make it go away.
No.
You know, living your life through others, and, you know, because we know that most of the stuff on social media is all fake. I mean, you know, a lot of people, you know, you got people out there who are casting spells to pay their electric bill. It's like, why don't you just get some money, get a job, and pay your electric bill? You know, it's it becomes too much of a fantasy, you know, in place of just looking at your own crap. Everybody wants the shortcut. Well, there is no shortcut. And then when I say this to people and they've heard me, you know, I said it at the beginning, there is no there. We're never there. It's a daily practice.
The myth of arrival.
There is no arrival.
Yeah, I never forgot that phrase. A counsellor told me once, and a lot of people, when I get that car, when I get that promotion, when I meet that girl, boy, whatever, I'll be so happy. But you get to that kind of event, and you're not, and some people are just shortchanging themselves by just kind of putting their lives and their emotional states on hold for something that might never occur.
Well, it's the first and second half of life principle. And it has nothing to do with your age. It's not chronological. There's the first half of life principle. Like I've talked to people that have severe health issues. And they've gotten through it. I talked to a woman recently who had brain surgery. She had a tumor removed. She's in the second half of life because why? Because she appreciates everything. She was facing death in the face. Now she's free. So now she's wide open to things. So the first half of life is building your container, as Richard Rohr said. Look at my house, look at my car, look at the women, look at my money, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Build, 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 build. And it's just building a false persona, but you're building that. The second half of life is when you are letting things go. Like, the most valuable person that is in your life is the person who's immediately in front of you when you're talking to them. It's the idea that before the event of 4 years ago, I don't need to name it, you know what it was. I was fortunate enough to go into schools and to churches and to do talks and to, homeless centers and, was invited as a guest speaker. And then that all went away because of the event. But I always had the mindset of, and I was fortunate, sometimes I spoke in front of 500 people, sometimes in front of 2. Whether it's 2 or 500, you treat them the same. It's the holy moment, the sacred moment when 2 people are connected, talking. Like when I do my counseling work, I never have my phone in the room with me. Because if I was talking to you and you were going through something and I picked up my phone, the first thing that goes through your head is that phone's more important than me.
Yeah.
Like I've cut off meetings where I've been talking to somebody that wanted to meet with me, a donor, et cetera. And they keep looking at their phone. I go, you've got one more time to look at the phone and I leave. One more time. Because again, we've lost that.
Yeah.
We've lost that. And I also base on again, I don't like pretentiousness. So sometimes I've met with people we've met at a bar or met at a restaurant. They want to be a part of the work I do, or they want to talk to me. It's all volunteer work, or they want to make a donation to the volunteer work. I base everything on how they treat the waitress or the bartender.
Yeah.
I watch how they treat them. Because my mother was a service worker. And I always remember how she got treated. So if they're going to treat other people like crap, that means they're going to treat me like crap behind my back and those around me.
Well, beware how someone treats the partner or the dog, kind of a situation.
If animals don't like the person, stay the hell away from them.
Yeah. We've nearly done an hour, David, and I think you didn't want to do more than an hour. But basically, before we go, I need to...
That's okay. I'm not rushing you. Go ahead.
One of the most fascinating parts, and I don't know why, for me, when you was talking to Fiona, because I thought I knew a few things about the occult. No expert, but I thought I'd seen everything there was to see within reason. And the railway spikes, I don't know why, it's really intriguing. Could we talk about the using it for practice?
And before I go into this, let me also say that Fiona is an excellent practitioner.
Yeah.
Her and Thomas Sheridan and Tina Kemp, they are excellent at the work they do.
Shout out to Fiona Egg. Hello, Fiona.
Yeah, tremendous respect for all 3 of them. Okay, the spikes. Yeah. The spikes that I get, and have had them given to me also. You want them from the railroad tracks where the train has gone over them. What I mean is, you don't want to go where there's new spikes. You want the kinetic energy from the train having gone over those spikes. Those people that are in the train cars, the energy of the train cars, the vibration of the spike into the earth, the driving of the spike out of the earth. There's a lot of kinetic energy there. Iron is protection. Iron is foundation. Iron represents the focus of the true will. So they're filled with energy, but they're also a fulcrum point to center. So I have one in my kitchen. I have in my other rooms in my house. I have a couple of them in my front yard nailed in the grass. Yeah. Because when I look at them, it reminds me of focused will, energy, strength, and protection. And in folk magic, iron railroad spikes represent all those things.
If I buy them off the internet, is that not the same as if I get them myself? Could you buy the iron spikes off the internet, or is it just kind of?
I would say you can buy them off the internet, obviously, if they're used. But if you do have a railway somewhere around you, the intention of actually going out and making the effort to get them. You're making an intention to get them. It's just like I say when people, they'll get books on, they'll look at a book online. But if it's a friend of mine who has a book out, I will buy the book because I'm investing in them and the work. It's an exchange. Hi, I value your work, so I'm buying the book. It's the same thing with the spikes. You are making the intention of making the energy to go get the spike. Again, can you buy them on the internet? Yes.
That wouldn't be the same as going finding it, though, would it?
I mean, I'm sure it's fine if they've been blessed or they've been, But the idea is you don't want them new. So that's all that matters, as long as they're not new. If you go to an old railroad yard and you see stacks of spikes that have been used, those are fine too, just as long as they've been used.
Yeah. How long have those been used in Magick? For hundreds of years?
God knows how long. I don't know. I'd love to give you an answer to that. I don't know. I know that in this country, it's been probably over 150 years, I'm guessing.
Your family, from you being young, used the spikes. Am I right in thinking that?
I learned about the spikes through my own personal study, but I know that iron was very important when I was like my grandmother talked about taking iron nails and nailing them in the fence around the yard.
Right.
Because that was protection. So like iron nails are the same thing. Protection. And then you would leave the nails in the fence, and the weather would hit them and they'd harden. And the nails in the fence, the iron nails are protection too. Old iron nails.
What is some other simple rituals of protection and things from the old religion, as you want to think you call it? Salt.
Sea salt. Sea salt. Sea salt people have put in doorways as protection. In Nordic beliefs, they use the runes. They'll put a rune over their door.
Okay.
Another thing it's used to, and again, I know that there's a lot of people that have issues with the faith, and I understand it. I understand it. But whether you are a person of faith or not, the book of Psalms, the Bible, is extremely powerful.
Right.
Extremely powerful. The Psalms, people who practice voodoo, folk magic, faith, all of them use the Psalms. Very powerful work. The Psalms have a rhythm to them.
Right.
They have a rhythm to them, and they get into your mind. I've said before that when it comes to the book of Psalms, when it comes to faith is far bigger than Christianity. Christianity is just a form of corruption to the faith. You know what I mean? It's the idea of like folk magic practitioners. They were there to heal. They didn't have an agenda.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of churches, not all, but a lot of churches that just have an agenda. We're basically here to try to help others. It doesn't matter if they're gay, straight, whatever their belief is. I work with everybody. Yeah. I have boundaries in terms of their, if they cross boundaries and message me too much and get out of hand, but I am open to helping anyone. Yeah. I've talked about before what Richard Rohr mentioned, which for some reason people forget this. And again, I'm not preaching. Jesus never asked one person what their belief was when he healed them. He didn't care if they were male, female, black, white, Muslim, heathen, pagan. He didn't care about none of that. But for some reason, in our wisdom, we think we have to. And that's rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it divides us, it destroys us.
How long have you been interested in the Nordic religions?
I've always liked the Nordic beliefs because it's very will-centered, and there's a lot of power in the runes. You don't have to practice the Nordic belief to know the power of the runes. They're very primal. They're very prime. You could take one rune, one symbol, and you could pour your energy into it. There's great power in them. They are prehistoric. Tina Kemp's work on the runes is impeccable.
Okay.
I recommend when people want to learn about runes, watch her YouTube channel because she does her work and she's excellent at it.
Sorry, Tina who? Sorry,
Tina Kemp.
Kemp. Okay.
Yeah, Tina Kemp. She does the podcast with Fiona, but she does some very good rune work, authentic. She does her research, she does the work, and she's of the old ways.
Fascinating.
I would never promote somebody unless I believe that they were authentic and they were doing it genuinely from the heart. So let me be clear on that.
No,
I make no money off of promoting nobody. I don't promote. I'm just saying, if they're authentically working from the heart, I promote them. And Tina Kemp, her rune work is excellent. Fiona's work is excellent. Thomas's work is excellent because it comes from the heart.
Absolutely.
They're not pretentious. That generally they're there to help.
Comes from authenticity.
And authenticity is going to be the word for 2024. Where everybody's tired, including you. We're tired of the decorations. We're tired of the frills. We're tired of being bullshitted. We're tired.
Could I just ask, kind of finally, what's the state of America now? Is there a backlash going on to
I'm just going to leave it at this because I don't want to get into the politics of it.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
No, you're not. You don't. You know what I'm saying. You know where I'm going with this. Natural law always corrects, and when natural law corrects, it is usually very relentless in correcting.
David, we've done an hour now. It doesn't seem like an hour. The hour is actually flown, and I want to speak to you again.
I would be honored to talk to you again. I enjoy our conversations.
I'm sorry, I'm out of practice, and I've been butting in and I apologise. But basically, next I want to get you back on, and we can talk about Hermeticism a bit more in depth, and the natural law in more depth. Well, thank you very much, Mr. David Sherb. Where can people? I'll put a link to your Instagram underneath.
That's where they can connect me on Instagram. Just DM me. I do everything through Instagram.
Do you have any socials other than Instagram? Is Instagram the main place to grab you on?
Instagram, and I'm on Telegram.
No worries. Thank you very much, David.
Jimmy, it was an honor to be on your show, and thank you for taking the time to have me on.
Thank you for agreeing to come on, sir. And it's nice to connect with you and made a friend over the pond.
Definitely did. Be well. Be blessed.
God bless you.
Thank you.